And that's right, how he is a keeper. And certainly is a blessing to everybody that's a believer of the truth. Amen. We certainly come on with no tickling their gospel, but teaching to the people what they must do to be saved. Amen. Before I start my message today, amen, it's in my heart and my mind to speak concerning the issue here in Jenner, Louisiana.
That's right.
For those of you that are not familiar, not well, especially people of color, amen, what does every race should take notice to 6 black men that are being tried. The first one already have been tried and facing 22 years in prison.
That's right.
Amen. This was a situation that occurred apparently from some Caucasian student making some nooses, which is very offensive to people of color, seeing how people have been hung for years and still being hung there in 2007,
Amen.
whether it's being made known abroad or not. It's might be in secret, but it's going on.
Amen.
Amen. So it's very offensive to a certain thing that you do, and everybody knows this. But to hear these young men, you know, going to jail and facing 22 years in prison, let you know there's a real cry that we, people of color, should stand up, denounce this rotten behavior.
Right.
Amen. This racism that so many our black leaders died for, and people known and unknown, that we all might have a right to free goodwill and free opportunity in America. But as always, America has never been fair.
Amen.
Amen. Frederick Douglass, I believe, spoke a speech under you in about 1852 or 53, condemning you on your 4th of July.
That's right.
How every one of your holidays that you set and you rejoice is a heartbreak unto people of color. Amen. What you sit around and you rejoice in is our shame.
Amen. That's right.
People might not want to admit it. They don't want to talk about that part of Frederick Douglass.
That's right.
Amen. How he did address you. He told the truth. He told you your Thanksgiving. He talked about your Christmas. He talked about your 4th of July. How none of this stuff is authentic. And Pastor Milton come along and say the same thing today, and that people try to condemn
That's
it.
right. That's
but
right.
this is something I want people to consider, and I really want people of color to wake up. In 2007, in Jenner, Louisiana, blacks and white cannot even sit together in the same school. At football games, the blacks had to sit on one side, the whites had to sit on another side. One of these same black men, I think his last name is Johnson, that's being tried, that's already been convicted, that's waiting on his sentencing, was just approached about a week or two before all this happened, before he was arrested by a white gentleman with a gun.
That's right.
He and a couple other blacks.
Amen.
Now these blacks jumped the white man and took his gun, and instead of the white man being charged, or Caucasian, we know white is an adjective, but they know what I'm saying.
Right.
They instead decided to arrest the young black men and charge them with kidnapping and robbing. Now this is a disgrace before God.
That's right.
In 2007, these black people ought to wake up and see we're just the worst off the day that we ever been.
That's right.
Amen.
Amen.
And it really just broke my heart to look at how one of them was attacked by 6 white men, just jumped in the street. No charges were found. I don't agree with violence on any side, whether the black one started fight, it shouldn't have happened. But at the same time, the nuisance never should have happened. The racism should be destroyed. In 2007, we've been here long enough for, but we shouldn't even be discussing no more about going back to North Africa.
Amen.
I mean, let's just be practical about it, folks. We have got to learn how to work together, black and white together. We all in this thing together.
Amen.
You not going nowhere, we not going nowhere. We have to learn how to live together and love one another. That's just the truth, and let's be practical about it.
Amen.
Regardless of how the country started, we know it's been started through injustice. Let's be honest about it. But at the same point, we got to look at we all here together.
That's
Amen.
right.
Why is it all this time we wasting in billions and trillions of dollars being spent in a country that we have just totally failed in? Why can't we spend this money on education, learn how to work together?
Amen.
Amen.
If you're so concerned about keeping us out of your neighborhood, why don't you get your president to go back and get that money he spent in Iraq and come and better our neighborhoods?
Amen.
And I guarantee we'll stay out of your so-called neighborhood.
That's right.
Let's be honest about
Amen.
it. Let's get our school where they're on a accrediting level. And I guarantee we'll stay out of your school, as you so call it.
Amen.
But we all got a right.
That's right.
Amen.
When they look at taxes, they don't take black taxes or white taxes. They just take taxes.
Amen.
Isn't that right? Let's just be honest about it, folks.
Amen.
There's a lot of wrong going on in America, and the only way we're going to change it, we have got to sit down and to address it. I'm calling for every black, white, Asian, whatever your nationality, that we come together and we do something to change it, to undo this wrong that's going on in Jenner, Louisiana.
Amen.
Because you got to consider something. This is only one place. This is going on everywhere.
Everywhere.
Amen.
That's right.
It just so happened this finally leaked out and made it to the press. You tell me how they stopped segregation was supposed to be destroyed in what, 1966? Lyndon Johnson or so signed a bill on that in 66, 65, 64?
Amen.
And you mean to tell me Jenner, Louisiana is still getting away with blacks and whites sitting on different sides in the auditorium?
Amen.
at the football field, in the lunchroom. We can't even sit together in 2007. And you know they're telling us, let it alone.
That's right.
There's not a problem. There's not an issue. Why there's not an issue? Why is right? If this young man has done something and the law condemns the behavior and it's justly done, that's the law.
Amen.
Come on, people. The Bible itself in the book of Timothy said the law wasn't made for a righteous man, but for the lawless.
That's right.
These white students have done something wrong. The DA should be fired. It shouldn't be a question.
Amen.
When the attorney in the Duke case, when they found out this was unjustly done, these young white boys that were accused of rape in Duke,
right,
and these young kids were acquitted, this attorney was barred and he was fired.
That's right.
Same thing should happen in General Louisiana.
That's right. Amen. Amen.
Right here in Atlanta, Georgia, where this young black man has been arrested with a 10-year charge on his back because he slept with a young Caucasian girl that was 2 years younger than him. The DA that had a part in it, the U.S. judge, all of them should be fired.
Amen.
I'm not going to come out with these people.
Right.
This gentleman that just resigned, Mr. Gonzalez,
Amen,
Attorney General for the United States.
That's right.
He fired 8 judges that didn't go along with the Bush system.
That's right.
Why are these men not being fired?
Amen.
Why these judges had a name not in the hat that they should be terminated?
Amen.
This is why Pastor Mel is so tired.
Amen.
This is why Pastor Mel have so much on him. Because you know what? Although we sit around and we can act like it's not a problem, they do it because we're the only people that don't respond.
That's true. That's true.
We're the only people that are numb to stupidity.
Amen.
We are numb when it comes down to injustice.
Amen.
Don't look at it and say that's their kids. Every time they do this to someone of your same race and color, it's your child.
Amen.
When are we going to wake up, folks, and start playing along with these people? How many times have I told you start at a liquor store, start buying their cigarettes, start playing these people game? Leave these people alone. They don't respect anything but the book.
Amen. That's right.
The Michael Vick issue. Pastor Smith don't agree with this man, what he did with these dogs. It's wrong. It's wrong. I ain't no fan of Michael Vick to where, hey, he got a good throwing on, he made a lot of money. That's his business. Where he eat, don't send me to the bathroom. Let's be practical. But let's be honest about it. Is Michael Vick any worse than any of these rodeo riders?
No, sir.
That sitting here sticking spurs in the back of these animals?
No, sir.
What's the difference?
Amen.
What do they do with these animals? They talking about making animals wild and making them mean. What you think they do to these bulls that they ride?
That's right.
These bulls are not tame.
That's right.
Come on.
That's right.
They got bullfight. They got country bullfight. When you see these men, when they sitting here playing around with these cakes, they got little spears in the back, in the side of those things. Folks,
right.
What you think they doing that bull to keep that bull chasing this blanket?
Amen.
You think the bull want to use it because he want to decorate his cage with it?
Amen. Amen.
And if you really want to get technical about people doing animal abuse, well, when they go to these Asians with these restaurants, they know everyone, not all of them, they know a whole lot of these Asians using dogs and cats in these restaurants.
Amen. That's true.
You such a great animal lover, why we not going through inspecting these Chinese restaurants you got in here?
Amen.
Because they don't really have a real issue.
Amen. That's right. Preach it.
I guess they say Pastor Smith ought to leave it alone and preach. Isn't that right?
No, sir.
But I'm preaching now.
Amen.
This is my issue. This is my concern, people. This is the part that really breaks my heart. When are we ever going to stand up against this stuff?
Amen. That's
what
right.
else can these people do to disgrace us than what they've already done?
Amen.
What else does it take for these people to really ever stand up and say, you know what can we do come together in a non-violent forum and try to make changes?
Amen.
Come on, folks. When are we going to wake up? What does it take? Dr. King showed us one of the best. Non-violence to do. All you do is protest these people.
That's right.
He showed us how to get to the front of the bus. It didn't take one rock, one stone, one stick.
That's right.
Isn't that right?
Amen.
Stop supporting these people.
Amen. Amen.
If Mr. Bush so big on pardoning people, won't he go pardon all these black people that's in jail illegally?
That's right.
Unjustly.
Amen.
Why he gonna go get a crook that was right along in his cabin, pardon him, and the man didn't even get to go to jail?
Amen. That's right.
Come on, folks. When are we gonna wake up? And then we sat around and said race is not a factor. It's always a factor.
Amen.
Don't play, folks. These folks do their senses based on race.
Amen.
They hire on job based on race, whether it's a quota or not.
That's
it's
right.
still based on race.
Amen.
We should need affirmative action after all these years.
Amen. Amen.
We haven't proved ourselves by now. Nothing else we gonna do it.
Amen.
How long are we gonna keep sitting around letting them wave Condoleezza Rice in our face?
Right.
Colin Powell saying that's enough. We just begin to fight.
Amen. Amen.
But we have always been a major part in American history. Whether known or unknown, don't tell me our history is not authentic because it's not on paper with his. You can write a lie just like you can tell one.
That's right. Amen.
Come on, folks.
Amen.
A lot of our great-grandparents told us stories and they passed them their children and passed them down. Don't tell